just never knew how to tell you.
I would
Tell
be
me
able
what?
to talk about my life.
Continue what guy.
I ever loved a lot.
I have two moms.
You want me to say it out loud?
Chances are, Johnny Mathis sang, I thought about how wonderful it would be to be in love with a girl. Young, black, poor, and different from the other girls. Seeking answers to questions not yet asked. The language of my condition not yet formed in my consciousness. I fell in love with the notion of living in San Francisco, a venue of refuge for me. Hello, my name is Patrick. I was ostracized. I was talked about. I was on a job one time at the hospital as a security officer, and people came by and stared at me as though I was an animal in a zoo. And they would stop their cars and point at me. That was in Pittsburgh, California. Every chance I got to leave Pittsburgh to come over here to party at the clubs, I did. This is the only place I could feel free to be me. I didn't have that many job choices back then. And when people found out about you, you were ridiculed, even in the 80s. When I worked in San Ramon, people put things on the wall, he, she, he. Patrick is a she. I endured a lot of internal shame behind that. I hated it. And I kept my mouth shut so I could keep my job. The false me is now no longer part of my life. I am now reborn. San Francisco was my surrogate, my womb, coming from a place of darkness into the existence of the true me. I am transformed. I am transgender. I am free.
My first visit to San Francisco was in the mid-70s. I drove cross-country at the tail end of the hippie movement, which began in San Francisco as the Summer of Love. I got into the Patty Hearst trial and witnessed firsthand the biggest news story of the day. San Francisco has been and continues to be a place where history is made. Despite the fact I didn't stay, San Francisco events played an important part in my life. When I was growing up, I didn't know any gay people. There were no famous gay people. Everyone was in the closet. All I heard were negative stereotypes. You could lose your job, home, friends, and family. Coming out was a huge risk. I didn't question things until my best friends started writing me letters that said things like, I'm not a lesbian, queer, or a dyke, but I love you more than anyone. We were even closeted to ourselves. There was no internet to go to, there were no LGBT centers to go to, but there were women's bookstores. I found a tiny ad for Gaia's Guide, a privately printed book that listed places where lesbians met. When I worked on a dairy farm one summer, I finally had the courage to order a copy. As promised, they mailed it in an unmarked brown paper wrapper. I hid it under my mattress. Since there was so much secrecy around meeting places, they described some locations like, go to the third door, the one with the light bulb on. These were rough times to be a lesbian, but things were slowly changing. San Francisco led the way in influencing much of LGBT progress. Daughters of Bilitis, the Pride movement had begun, Harvey Milk was running for office. Women's music, also known as lesbian music, was emerging. This was at least a decade before KD or Melissa. These things gave us hope. When Harvey Milk won, we were elated. He was our hero. Then suddenly, our dreams, along with the mayor and Harvey Milk, were shot down. We mourned, we rioted, but these events forced change. I moved here 20 years ago. Things we never dreamed of, like gay marriage, have become legal in some places. Mayor Gavin Newsom made a bold attempt to legalize it here. But in reality, much progress is bittersweet. San Francisco is a beautiful city that represents creativity, progressive thinking, and revolution. I'm proud to be a San Franciscan.
Walking past this location on Market in Castro always brings back great memories. It's a fine dining restaurant now, but 25 years ago, it was home to one of the most important organizations ever created by the gay community, the Names Project, a quilt that was meant to memorialize friends and family members lost to the AIDS pandemic, and also to serve as an educational awareness tool to the world. In the spring of '87, I learned of the quilt and thought, this is something really special. So in June, I decided to see what I could do as a volunteer. When I arrived, I was approached by a tall, blonde woman who asked, "Can you sew on a machine?" My no answer was quickly followed by, "Well, come over here and I'll show you how." Thus began the first of many hours sitting hunched over an industrial-grade sewing machine. I had like 3 close friends that died of AIDS, but it wasn't just the 3 close friends. It was 3 hairstylists. It was the clerk in the store that I used to see and visit with every time I'd go there. And when I'd go there, then I could see that he was slowly losing weight, and his eyes were sinking in his head, and his hair was falling out, and pretty soon he wasn't there anymore. And this sort of thing happened everywhere you went. I knew I had to do something, and I didn't really have the know-how of what I should be doing, but I had to do something, and this is what I did, working on the quilt, because I knew that it impacted people's lives, it moved people's lives. In Washington, the volunteers gathered on the mall at midnight, and we worked until dawn, laying out the grid and preparing the sections for the unfolding ceremony. I remember standing in a circle and holding hands with the members of my unfolding team as the early morning sun rose over the Capitol dome. This was one of the most solemn events of my life. And later that day, I participated in the historic March on Washington. It was exhilarating, marching past the White House, yelling gay rights slogans at Ronald Reagan, though we were told he wasn't there. My work on the quilt brought a great deal of meaning to my life, and even today, I still view those few days in October '87 as one of the most important pivot points of my entire life.
My life began here in San Francisco. I came here in May of last year. I love movies. I am creative. I knew San Francisco is the right place to live. But like any newcomer, beginning is difficult. I don't know any places, had no friends, and very little money. I was lonely and depressed. The first thing I did was to visit the Castro district. One day, I saw an ad that Frameline is looking for volunteers. I always wanted to watch movies there, but I can't afford a movie ticket. I had to save my money for food. I volunteered for the Frameline last year, and this is where I was. I was here every night and every weekend, and basically I came here and sweeping popcorns between movies. It wasn't a glorifying job, but I got what I wanted. I got to see free movies. I had a crush on a girl I met, and the Castro was such a beautiful theater. I loved when the organist practiced before the show. I cannot believe it was only 10 months ago. In my wildest dreams, I never thought I would get to write and direct my own movie. I can't believe this year I'm here as a filmmaker with my own credential and my own badge. The most memorable event in San Francisco was last year I volunteered at Frameline. One day I hope to be a film director, and I can say it all started here. I feel very lucky. I am proud of myself and grateful to Frameline and Tilt's Generations Film Project for the opportunity to participate this year. I just think it is definitely a great project. That's what I want to say. Yeah, and I meet new friends, and I enjoy that a lot. Thank you. Right. Cut.
When I grew up, I was different compared to the other boys. I liked playing with Barbie dolls with my sister, watching Sailor Moon. I used to model for Parenting magazine. I was on the cover of Summer 1994, shot at Chrissy Field. In high school, I knew I was gay, but didn't know anyone else who was like me. I did have an in-denial lesbian friend. I went to her house every Saturday telling my parents I was doing homework, but really I was looking at gay porn for 7 hours while my lesbian friend was looking at anime porn. That gay porn taught me a lot. I went to a lot of proms, all with girls. Girls always asked me to go with them. They knew I was gay. I was hoping a guy would ask me to prom. I joined the Gay Straight Alliance Club hoping to meet other gay guys like myself, but there were just lesbians and straight allies. I met a queer advocate that worked at the San Francisco LGBT Center, and she told me I should apply for the youth internship. I got the job. I worked at the center for 8 months. I organized field trips, mill night, queer prom. I met a lot of gay people that became my friends and experienced the complexities of gay drama. I felt proud to be myself.
I know it's crazy.